Matthias, and I'm working on installing an outdoor shower on my Minnie Winnie 22R. I've got a dog and soon to be 5-year-old and a newborn, and so having an outdoor shower is really important for us, and so I'm going to try to put together a video and walk you guys through how I'm doing this. I will give you some specs on the shower. I've taken sort of the inside guts out for the purpose of placing it, and I'm gonna install it just underneath the sink in the bathroom. So a couple things I'm thinking about is you know, the height of this. Is it going to be at a good height? I'm thinking about how much is it going to stick through from the surface of the outside of the RV into the inside. And I'm also thinking about, if I'm driving in cold weather, what's going to happen to the lines. Are they going to be frozen? Are there going to be problems with leakage? And just making sure I have a plan for containing the water. So anyway, I'm going to try to put together some videos and stitch them together and post it. Okay, so I just want to show you real quick. This is show you this side. This is the Dura Faucet, bought on Amazon, RV exterior shower box kit. And like I said a moment ago, I took out all the insides for the purpose of doing the installation. And yeah, so I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so one of the things I've been thinking about is how much this shower box is going to stick out on the inside. So what I've done is I went ahead and drilled the first hole in the top right corner as you're looking from the inside out, and I've measured the depth, and that depth is about just about 2 inches, and I know that this box is about 3 1/4 inches. So what I want to do is make sure that the pipes, the drain pipe and the P-trap, don't interfere with both where the water outlet's going to come in. I'm going to connect the lines, and also I'm going to have to move any more plumbing on the inside. I really don't want to do that. It can get messy, and yeah, I just want to avoid that if I can. So I'm going to take a look and see how much space I need and how that looks. Okay, so in here, kind of marked out roughly where the box is going to go. I went ahead and drilled one hole right here in the top right corner, and I use that as a template for the outside, because I'm going to cut the hole from the outside. But I generally know where the hole is going to be as I look at it from the inside as well. And so that allows me to think a little bit about how this box is going to fit and whether or not we're going to bump into that. Now I've got this stuff loose already, and so I'll just go ahead and take the rest of this off. And then with the tape measure, I now know that you know, I've got somewhere like you know, about 3 inches from that back wall to those pipes. So I've got 2 inches in wall thickness, and I've got 3 inches, so it should give me about 1 inch and change on clearance in there. But I really wanted to put this as high as possible, because that would allow me to not have to stoop over and bend over when I'm outside using the hose, and also kind of creates a nice clean look in here, so you won't see any of the extra hoses. Hopefully that's the goal. So one of the other big questions I had was, are there going to be any studs in my way? Because I don't want to have to cut through a stud. I think that would compromise some of the integrity of the structure, and certainly add a lot more work. So the assumption is that if you look at how the cabinet is screwed into the wall, there are screws going into the wall on both sides. So that kind of tells me that's more than likely where those studs are going to be. And I've gone in and I've used my stud finder from the inside to see if there's any studs back there. I don't see anything. I've also kind of knocked, and probably the last thing I'm going to do is probably just drill a couple holes across there just to double check from the inside before I go in and cut a big hole on the outside that would be hard to make look good again. Bad enough that I'm putting in a white door on a off-white nice vehicle. Okay, so one of the things I've done here is I have this outer casing. I've measured this, and it's about, you know, to be clear, it's about 11.25 by, you know, give it a little bit, so call it 6.25. And I went and I drilled a hole from where I wanted it to be on the inside to this top left corner, and then I've measured out on tape just a little under 11.25. So I'm gonna actually cut out on the outside of this black line, and the same thing here, 6.25. One of the things that's really important to do is to measure diagonally, and so I'm at 12 5/8 and 12 5/8, and that's to ensure that this is all square, so you're not actually cutting something that's not the right size. Finally, so the other thing I did was I measured something from the bottom. I needed to get some frame of reference. So this is about 14.5 on the bottom and 14.5 on the bottom over here. So I know that at least relative to this feature on the side, this is actually parallel. So from here I'm going to start grabbing a drill and drilling the corners, and then I'm going to go and cut out the rest of that feature. Alright. Fantastic. Look at that. Nice. I'm going to hold on to this because I might need it. But look at that. Look how well that's built. Nice solid piece of foam in between, and it's laminated on both sides. So very happy with that. Okay, so let's see. Does this fit? Oh yeah. That is going to be great. I'm excited. Section of butyl tape. This stuff is super sticky and tacky. And what we'll do is we'll start this out right along here. And it'll actually stretch around, which is kind of cool. Now if you had sort of a more corrugated exterior, what I've seen other people do is use 2 coats or 2 layers of this butyl tape. But for us, having a smooth exterior on the Minnie Winnie, I think just 1 layer is probably enough. So. Okay, so I've installed the screws here. I need to go back and find just a couple of other screws because it was an 8-pack and there's 10 holes, so that's fine. But now we've got this nice, pretty much waterproof exterior shower. I'll go back later and I'll put some caulk around the outside and seal that up really well. but that should be fine. I'm looking forward to being able to wash off my dog and my son and my newborn when she gets a little older pretty soon. Alright, so this is the actual valve heads, and I took them off for the purpose of doing this install. What I'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and thread these in and get this in place, and I'll come back and do the inside work. So and just to try to keep this all in place while I go inside, I'm going to close this up. And, there we go from there. Okay, so what you can see now is I've got this stuck through. I'm going to just go ahead and thread these on. I'm excited by this because it's not going to interfere with any of my plumbing here. It should be just fine. Okay, a couple of things I picked up at the hardware store to make the plumbing connection. I've got these Sharkbite Tees, 2 of those, one for the hot, one for the cold. I'm also adding a valve for both the hot and the cold, and that's if I'm traveling in cold temperatures, and I just want to make sure I isolate those things are going to be exposed to potentially deep freezes. So I want to be able to turn that off inside the vehicle to prevent cracking or breaking of those lines. And then finally, what I've got here are a couple 12-inch long connectors. On one side we've got a 1/2-inch FIP, and that 1/2-inch FIP works well on the end of the Dura Faucet connector, and on the other side we've got a 3/8 compression fitting to a valve. So that's actually going to go to these quarter turn valves, 1/2-inch push to connect on one side, and then on the other side it'll just thread in right into that compression coupling. So I'm going to make this connection, and and finally, very important, I've already had to use this once, but in the event of make a boo-boo, this is a tool you need to remove the PEX connector. So it presses up against this feature right here, this part, and it allows you to release the hose. So definitely worth having one of those around. So I'm going to make this connection, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so here you can see I've made the connections. I've got the hot side, and I had them labeled before I made the cut. These pieces of PEX had quite a bit of bend to them before, so having this tee actually relieves a lot of the stress, makes it a much nicer connection. There's the hot, labeled as H, and I've got the cold over here. I've got both of these valves connected here. I've got a little piece of PEX tubing that I use as a connector, and then of course I've got these valves in the off position for now, because I want to make sure that nothing else is leaking upstream when I turn the water on. And finally, when I made the connection down here to the Dura Faucet, I did use a couple layers of Teflon tape in there before I attached those braided connectors onto those threads. So we're going to turn it on, just check it and see if we've got a leak, and then when that's all done, I'll reinstall the trap and the extension piece for the drain. Okay, there we go. So I've gone back and trimmed up the ends and made sure they were pushed in all the way, and it's a little bit shorter now, but that's okay. And I've got the water pump on. It's come to full pressure, and so far it looks pretty dry, so I'm really happy with that. Next thing I'm going to do is open up the quarter turn valves here at the end and check the rest of the connection, and then I'll put the P-trap back in. A little hard to see, but I added the trap back in, and everything looks good. So I've turned the valves on. I know water's flowing to the Dura Faucet. Okay, for this job I'm using Proflex RV. Did a couple searches online, and this was really highly recommended. So I'm going to just put a bead all the way around. And I've got a little wet rag. I just wet down my finger and just smooth that bead out. Wipe it off. Just like that. And while I've got this open, I'll go ahead and touch up a couple places that I know need a fresh seal. Okay, so there it is. Finished installation of the Dura Faucet on the Minnie Winnie 22R. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope that maybe someone like me gets to see it and say, yeah, I can do that, and now I know exactly what I've got to do. Best of luck, and all my comments and links to the products will be down below.